feel like, have you healed from Sjogren's? How do you think about that?
I feel healed in the sense that I don't have chronic fatigue. That's a big thing. So I feel healed by that. Um, I feel like I am someone who has Sjogren's, but obviously I'm a lot more healed, obviously.
Yeah, well, this is interesting because when we talk about healing, like we very purposely don't use the word cure. We don't
Yeah.
cure Sjogren's. It's impossible to say that.
What is your definition of healing?
Well, as opposed to curing, curing would be it's gone, never to return.
Yeah.
You'd have to be a prophet to know that it will never
Yeah,
return.
exactly. Yeah.
So I think anyone who claims to cure Sjogren's is a liar, and they
Mm.
probably know that. Luckily, not many people do claim to use, they don't use the word cure, but they use a lot of words that are similar to that. And there's some other people that maybe do a similar thing to what we do, but they use language which is verging on that, and it really upsets me to see that because I think they know better, but they're basically frauds. I think they're
But
fraudulent.
what kind of language is that? What do they?
They might say
Is that one?
like
There's a different.
reverse.
Yeah, there's another word.
There's just a lot of some word plays that's going on with various practitioners, and
Yeah.
so anything that would imply that it's gone, that never to return, is it's impossible to say. No one can say that. There's no evidence in the scientific literature, and I don't think there's evidence even in anecdotally, because if someone has a really stressful period,
Yeah.
they could have it there. It could come back. So what's happening with any issue, be it Sjogren's or any other inflammatory condition, be it autoimmune or non-autoimmune, there's you. Why would somebody develop Sjogren's and somebody else develop rheumatoid arthritis or lupus? Sjogren's and those three actually are pretty connected. There's a lot of overlap.
Some people have them all, don't they?
Some people have them all, but they really don't have them all. They just have an underlying immune dysfunction. But that's the point. They have an underlying immune imbalance or dysfunction. Why in some people does it manifest as Sjogren's and some people it manifests as lupus? So there are differences between these things. So there's going to be genetic reasons for that. So if you imagine there's a weak links in the chain. So imagine you're a bridge, and a third of the way through the bridge, your bridge, like one of the cables that's holding it has worn away. So that would
Yeah.
be like a genetic weak link. So if there's too much pressure on that section of the bridge, it's liable to collapse there. So that's just your weak point. Or if you imagine a skeleton, you have I don't know, you had an accident as a kid and you broke your arm. Actually, that's not a good example because when bones rebuild, they're often stronger than before. But imagine in this case, it wasn't. In this case, it's weaker than before. So now you have a weak point. If you put too much pressure on that, it's liable to break. So there's a genetic susceptibility to specific
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
manifestations. So in certain people, because they have this gene which has a certain variant, that influences their immune cells in a certain way, which then has a butterfly effect and then can turn into what we call Sjogren's,
Yeah.
the specific autoimmunity that affects these specific tissues. And there's many, it might be genetic or it might be their environmental factors. People have grown up in different physical environments. They've had exposure to different environmental factors,
Yeah.
like viruses, bacteria, molds, like you said before. And so everyone's individual, the way they grew up is different. Even in their emotional states are different. All these things are combining. Were any of those things to happen again? Like if you were to go into the same environment that produced these problems,
Yes.
then
Yes.
it will come back. Or it could
That's
come back.
exactly.
It might not because you have changed now. But theoretically, conceptually, if you undid all of your, if you went backwards, did it in reverse, and just exactly to how you were a year ago now, eating exactly the same diet, living in the same apartment, being in the same emotional state. If I was a gambling man, which I'm not, I would put a lot of money on it that it would come back
Yeah.
because your genes haven't changed.
Yeah.
Lots of other things in your body have changed, but your genes haven't changed. Epigenetically, they could have changed, but that will reverse as well. So I won't explain epigenetics, but some
Yeah,
aspects
which I
of the
find
gene,
fascinating, but another time. Okay.
basically, you could reverse the reversal. But if you maintain the in different environment, the environment you think about all of the everything that your body and your cells are exposed to. So environmental factors are also diet. It's not just like molds and allergens and stuff. It's also diet, people around you, your emotional state, everything that's affecting how you're well, the environment that your body finds itself in, basically. If you maintain that difference to what it was before, then you're very likely to not revert to that. Although you might have, you're not necessarily going to be complete without any symptoms, but going back to that is, it's very unlikely. And in our experience,
Yes.
it's not happened.
Oh, right.
People do have flares, and there's other issues happen. People get a virus of some sort, and that can trigger issues. But the common theme with all of those things, for the most part, is that the flares tend to be shorter and less severe.
Yeah.
It's always been like that's the main kind of goal. So this is actually still a question: cure versus healing. So cure, I would never suggest to someone that they can cure their Sjogren's. I'm not sure I believe they can either. So I think that that's maybe an inbuilt thing. Everyone, regardless if they have Sjogren's or not, has their own propensities to certain diseases. So I wouldn't say anyone could get away from those susceptibilities. But healing, on the other hand, is an ongoing process. I would say you're healing. You're never healed. I don't think there's
I'm definitely healing. Yeah.
Yeah, healing is ongoing. I don't think that someone's healed from something. Maybe they could be healed from fatigue or healed from
Yes.
if they they used to put in use 10 bottles of eye drops a day, and now they only need to use half a bottle a day. Well, that's obviously way more than people who use 10 bottles, but that kind of thing. For all intents and purposes, they've like healed their dry eyes. They could say it's up to it's their personal. So healing is an ongoing process of restoring function to your body system such that you feel better day to day, trending towards feeling better and better.
I am healed. I'm definitely healed from what was happening last year and the year before that. Yeah. So yeah, because I wasn't quite sure, what does it exactly mean? And now you've described it. Yeah, I am.
But also, the other side of healing is that it's not just about the physical; it's also a spiritual level to healing, which involves your self-identity. And a lot of people with chronic illness have an identity of being chronically ill, and they didn't always have that, but they developed that when they became chronically ill, and then they start seeing themselves as chronically ill, and now that's their identity. I am chronically ill. I have Sjogren's. The more times someone says those words, that becomes their self-identity, their reality, and then they start to. That will ingrain that. I think it will actually affect them physically, potentially ingrain the process. If you think about this, the message your nervous system is picking up when you think like that, and when you talk like that, is your nervous system's like, fuck, am I allowed to swear? Is the nervous system like, oh my gosh, like I'm ill. Oh, what's gonna happen? What happened? What's gonna happen to me? This is terrible. And all of the alarm bells are ringing. This is the nervous system response to those words and thoughts that you're saying. So when you have like a self-identity, which is, I am ill, I'm chronically ill, that is going to be physically affecting the way that your nervous system is functioning and your immune system is functioning, your hormones that are being released as a result of those thoughts. The thought, it basically it'll become hormones, release of hormones from a gland. It goes from a thought to your nervous system. The nervous system tells like the adrenals to put out cortisol because we're in a danger state.
Yes.
Then the hormones get out of balance. That affects the immune system, and then so it all starts. I wouldn't say it starts with a thought. For some people, it could start with the thought or a traumatic experience, which is really the problem of that is what's happening mentally and emotionally. So you have a danger signal basically coming out psychologically.
That's very interesting because I have an example of that. This whole last year, there were moments where I think, oh my God, am I getting fatigued? I feel a little bit funny. What's going on? Or I'd be suddenly, a wave would come for a minute or two. And my daughter said, just accept it. Don't say, oh my God, what's happening? What's going to happen? Just let it be, like, this is it. Just let it be. And when I did that, it went away. Yeah. Whereas like before it would escalate.
Yeah.
And when I wouldn't give any power to it, I mean, obviously I'm at a different stage, so this might not work for people who are really in it,
It will. It works on every level. It's just a question of how much. So you have to start somewhere.
And repeating it often, like
Yeah,
always being that way.
yeah. And so if you do have it, I think it's really important to guard your thoughts and to only think, to not allow like doomy thoughts, to just not
Yeah.
allow them, or at the very least to just be aware of them, but not like accept them. So you can just notice
It's
them. And this is what's good about meditation is you can start
yeah.
to notice your thoughts and go, that's interesting. I don't think that's a thought that serves me. So I'm just going to just not, I
That
prefer
happened
to
to me
think,
on the bus the other day. I've learned labeling from meditation, and I went into this thought of something, and I said thinking, and it went like I'm
yeah, yeah.
thinking that way.
And this is so powerful because it's actually that if you were to go along with it and allow it to seduce you,
Mm.
this thought, then that will start to impact your physical body. Like that thought will produce a nervous system response, which will affect your hormone release, which will affect your immune system, and it's one thing becomes another. Yeah, healing. So that how it takes place on a spiritual level. That's also to do with your purpose in life. Would be a spiritual level thing. Your like why like what's your purpose or
That's like
meaning? Like so, people without a purpose or meaning, that's going to affect many things in their body and the way that they respond to things that happen in their life. Spiritual level, emotional level, physical level, different levels of healing. So they all can take place on different times. So that this word healing it's not just as black and white as cure for sure. It's an ongoing process. But then you have another word, reversing, which is kind of like one of these words that are used in place of curing
yeah.
because people, some practitioners and whatnot, they don't want to say cure.
Yeah.
They found this word reverse, which
What is
doesn't
that word they
really
use for people with cancer as well? They use it.
remission. I think you're talking about
Remission. That's the
so
word I was thinking.
remission is more of a technical term. So that would be depending on the situation. It might be that your antibody, if you get a test, your antibodies are low and you don't have symptoms. Okay, your symptoms are gone and your antibody. So that could be remission. We don't use that word either because I think it's misleading. I think the concept of it, I'm in remission now. Um, it's very temporary. It's
It's
like,
attached. It's still attached to
yeah,
the disease. Yeah.
yeah, and it can and like everyone's in remission until they're not. Everyone's in remission until they get a flare up. So
Yeah.
I don't see the value in using remission, but there's a technical definition for medical, for conventional medicine, they'll use that. The other one, reversing, in a way, it is kind of what we do. I guess we reverse these
Yeah.
processes because reversing is, but we don't revert. Can you reverse Sjogren's? It's a strange, slightly kind of meaningless word on its own. But how I would understand it, or I don't use it, but people do use it as well, is that we want to ideally to reverse the dysfunctional processes that have led to the disease. So let's say
Yeah.
we were talking about your energy before, how it was declining and declining, and were you to continue on that trend, most likely it would have got worse. So we reversed that process, and instead of your mitochondria, I mean, we didn't like measure how many mitochondria you have in your cell, so we're hypothesizing. But if your mitochondria are getting fewer and fewer, we want there to be more and more. So we supported your mitochondrial function. That was a intentional thing that we were doing. So that reversed the mitochondrial decline, the assumed mitochondrial decline. So that is a reverse of the not of the disease, but of
Yeah.
a contributing factor to
Yes.
so. But I still prefer the concept and the term of healing because it exists on multiple levels. It's an ongoing thing. So no matter where you are on your healing journey, as long as you're going in the right direction, you're healing. And so
I
that's a
love it.
message you can tell yourself, I'm healing. I'm healing.
Yeah.
And because
Yeah.
it's something that you're not really lying to yourself about, or just it's true. If you're doing consciously the things that you need to be doing to heal, which maybe we'll get into in a second, if you're doing that consciously, yes, you can have ups and downs, but if you're healing, that's a great message to be sending to your nervous system.
Yeah. On that note, it's really funny because I mean, even before when I was feeling awful, I would say to myself, I am well, I am healthy, I, listen to all these affirmations every day. I would say that. And now when I get really excited, when I, like, for example, when I did the 2 moves, I'd come to my mom and I'd say, look how well I am because I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And
Well,
then,
maybe
yes,
those affirmations, maybe they did play a role in how you're doing today. Maybe at the time it was hard to believe it, and at the
but I
time,
still did it.
yeah, and there's something to be said about that, even when you don't believe it.
Yes.
That, I mean, that's kind of like where it starts. You start
Yeah.
affirming before it's true. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're going to wait until it's true to start affirming, there's no point. So you start before
Yeah.
it's true. You start before it's true, but there's some components to that. But yeah, but maybe that's
Like I had it on my iPad. I think I probably still, it's not as much, but here, happy, healthy. Yeah. I mean, I have it anywhere I look.
the placebo effect is real. It's so real that pharmaceutical companies spend billions of dollars circumventing this absolutely real phenomenon. And it's all about, it comes back to this, your self-identity in a way, like what are your expectations? Your belief is a part of your biology,
Yeah.
separate to your biology. Your belief is part of your biology. It governs your biology, what's happening physically in your body.
It's true.
So,
Very interesting. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I am healed. I am healing. I am healing a lot.
and I guess another question I have is how easy or difficult has it been to continue following the recommendations that we gave you
Mm.
a year ago?
So, so when you first gave me the protocol a year ago, it was